everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today we're going to be playing with honestly one of the most beautiful eyeshadow palettes I have ever personally owned, and that is the new one from Adept Cosmetics. This is the Seahorse palette, and how pretty is she? Oh goodness. So this is a faux leather exterior and it has this really pretty sort of gradient from purple to green to yellow. Really pretty. And then these gorgeous golden seahorses on the front. It is exquisite. In its side, it does have a full size mirror as well as 15 incredible eyeshadows and pressed pigments. So this contains 14 of what they're calling their precious gems / iridescent multichromes, as well as one semi-precious iridescent duochrome. And I've used this once already. When it got to me yesterday, I could not contain myself and I created such a stunning look. It is going to be up on my Instagram channel, so do make sure to check that out. But let's go ahead and talk about the palette. I'm gonna go ahead and insert some swatches. Because of the nature of these shadows, it is difficult to catch them on the camera. I had to turn the lights down really low because they are, again, on a transparent base and they are on the iridescent side. A few of them do have much more pop than the others, so to speak, but for the most part, these are going to be I don't want to say on the subtle side, but they're just more difficult to catch in the swatch. They really perform beautifully, especially in either sunlight or low light conditions. They're really stunning. So I received this palette, as I said yesterday. I did pick it up on the pre-order. I do believe that this palette does go live on the 25th of May. And let's go ahead and jump in to some of the looks. All right, so my eyes are already primed and I use just a little bit of translucent setting powder to go in with these stunning shades. Like, look how cute these are. And you can see that there are some different textures in here, but we do have a companion palette today. So we're going to be dipping into my It's a Mood palette from ColourPop for the mattes. And here's the thing. This is not an ensemble cast. These are divas and they need their own stages. So when it comes to working with shades like this, we're not going to be combining a lot of them together. We're really only going to be using one or two in each look. So I think the shade that I'm really being drawn to at the moment is this one right here. This sort of fiery orange. It is called Long Snout. So we're going to go ahead and dip in, as I said, for our mattes into the It's a Mood palette. So I'm going to start off with Stay Close, which is this just very light sort of peachy shade. And we're going to be using one of my Sugar Drizzle just fluffy brushes. Now I'm going to be doing this look only on one eye, so that I can put the other look on the other eye. I know that that's not something I typically do, so I need to make sure that I don't forget what I'm doing and try to apply to both sides, because that won't work. But with this palette officially launching on the 25th, I wanted to go ahead and do some of these looks for you in case you were kind of eyeing it and were on the fence about whether or not you wanted to pick it up, because let's be honest, as I said, this is a diva palette and it comes to us at a diva price. It is definitely not cheap. So now that we have that laid down, I'm going to take a little bit of It's a Rush, which is this much deeper shade here, and I'm going to use that to start building up on the outer corner, as well as to deepen up the crease a little bit. We are going to be going in with, as I said, just a few more mattes, but I do want to build the basis of the look and then pop this beautiful duochrome or multichrome on the eyeball. As I said, I did pick this up received it yesterday, and I literally had other things on my agenda that all got pushed to the wayside because I was like, nope, we are doing this. We are definitely doing this. All right, so I was using there my Blend Bunny Cosmetics B4 brush, and then I'm just gonna go back into the Sugar Drizzle brush with nothing on it, just to kind of blend those two together and make sure that everything is nice and soft. All of these shadows do have a transparent base, so we do want to make sure that we have a good, strong kind of foundation for everything, because that's really what is going to make them the most vibrant. And then we're going to be going in with our Deal, which is this deepest brownish shade right there. I say brownish because all of these shadows have such interesting undertones. I mentioned the year that I bought this, which was what, 2021? That it was one of my very favorite palettes of the year. It was so, so lovely. And it's one that I reach back to time and time again because it's a really good palette. Now I am going a good way in, about half of my lid with this brown. I'm going to touch back into It's a Rush, which was that orangier shade, and just sort of blend the two together. But having a more pronounced outer corner and then layering some of that multichrome over it is going to give you a really good transition between the bare lid and the lid with additional shadow on it. And it's going to add additional complexity to that look. All right, and for this I'm just using my Moda small shader. I like that it's nice and flat and dense and compact because it really gives some good depth to it. And then finally we're going to take on my Veramona just kind of flat shader brush. I am going to take a bit of It's a Rush. I'm going to use that right under my lower lash line, just to kind of complete it out a little bit. And as I said, I don't want to go too much. I don't want to go too much because I really want for these shadows to just accentuate what we have there. Okay, now that we have done that, I am of course going to take my NYX glitter primer. I use this every single time I do eyeshadow, regardless of the formula or the company, because I just find that for me, it gives the best results. You can also use your finger, of course. I just personally don't prefer using my finger because I don't have the same level of control that I have with a brush. And I am, first of all, a clumsy girl. But second of all, because I have hooded lids, I just tend to make a mess. My eyes themselves are also a little bit on the smaller side. So that is just my preference there. All right, so we're going to go into Long Snout, which is the shade right here. Pick some of that up. Ooh, that is going to be obscene, obscene. All right, let's stamp this all over. I mean, the fire in this is incredible. And you see when you start to layer it over the outer corner where we have those two matte shadows, it just makes it absolutely come alive. This is such a beautiful palette. I've been a fan of the Adept Cosmetics formula for a few years now. I don't have too many of their palettes because I'll be honest, they are usually on the pricier side, but the quality, you cannot argue with the quality. All right, so that is what we're looking like there, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Let's do the inner corner. I want to take, what do I want to take? Yeah, let's go with this brush that I bought on Amazon. I have no idea what it is, but we're gonna take a little bit of, I think, Paradoxal, which is this shade right here that's right next to it, this shade right here. And we're going to use that on the inner corner. Ooh, yes. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to take it onto the lower lash line as well. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna put on some mascara and then I'll come back and show you what the final look looks like. To finish this look off, I added a couple of coats of the L'Oreal Telescopic Lift, and then to the waterline, I added the Kaleidos eye pencil in the shade Solaris. I just love any excuse to use these eye pencils, to be honest with you, but the shift on there just really adds a bit of oomph to an already spectacular look. For the second look, you guys know it would not be me if I didn't go in with the green eyeshadow. This is the shade Narrow Bellied, and then the shade right next to it called False Eye. Technically, I've already used it, but I don't care because it's absolutely stunning and I want to use it again. So I think this time we're gonna go for more of a halo of eye effect. So again, going back into my It's a Mood palette and using my Sugar Drizzle blending brush, I'm gonna go into this shade right here called You and I. And again, I'm just laying a bit of shape down in and above the crease. And then we'll be deepening up a little bit after that. When I did the look that I created yesterday, I paired it with my Blend Bunny Cosmetics Lure palette. And I'm telling you, those two palettes together are absolute heaven. Absolute heaven. They complement each other so nicely. I could not get over it. They seem like they were just made to go together. So if you have that palette, definitely make sure to break it out. And to be honest with you, that is a perfect summer palette in my opinion anyway. All right, so again, we're just putting down a little bit to give some shape to the eye, and then going in with, I think I want to use another Blend Bunny brush because they are just some of my favorites. I'm going to go in with, again, a clean B4, and we're going to start building up a combination of this shade right here on the bottom and then this sort of olivey tone shade. So Mystified and Oblivion. I don't want it to be too grungy. I want to keep it bright, but I'm afraid that Mystified just has a little bit too much blue in it, and that's not the direction that I want to go. So we're going to use just a little bit in the crease, not much. I just want to give some depth to where that crease actually is. And that's really all we're going to do. I'm going to dip back into Mystified alone and just use it as well because, again, I don't want it to get too grungy, which Oblivion is perfect for that. You guys know I love me my grungy tones, but I just don't think that's exactly what I want here in this look. Okay, and then going back into the original Sugar Drizzle brush, I'm just going to go ahead and soften up all of the edges. And I think that will look really nice. And then going in with a bit of a flatter, more dense brush. I think we're going to use this one here from Sigma, the E32. And I'm going to take Mystified, which is again this shade here on the bottom, and I'm going to use it to deepen up the outer and inner corner. Not too much, but just enough to add that shape in. Try not to get too out of control with that. And a little bit here on the inner corner as well. Apparently I cannot speak and do this, otherwise I make a big old mess. I definitely really appreciate all shimmer palettes because I have such a large eyeshadow collection as it is. I love being able to sort of change up some of the looks that you can make with those palettes by adding an all shimmer palette into the mix. I just think that they are so much fun and I cannot help myself. I may have picked up a couple more releases. This has been an expensive month. This has been an expensive month. And if you were watching my makeup rehab series, you know that I was supposed to be on a no buy, and then all of these brands came out with all of this amazing stuff, and I am weak. I am weak. That is what it comes down to. I am weak. All right, let me make sure that this is at the intensity that I want it to be, and then we'll go in with some of those beautiful shimmers. So me saying shimmers in such a weird way, one of my daughters has started saying things in the strangest way. So instead of saying water, she'll go, water? I'm like, where did that come from? So just, yeah, made me think of that. Mama, where's my water? Silly child. All right, and I'm going to be using my, some sort of Real Techniques flat shader brush to just add some shape to the bottom lash line. Not too much, because again, Diva palette. And just a little bit right there. All right, now for the fun part. Okay, so going in with, I think another Morphe M167, because that is my favorite. We are, of course, going to go in with the glitter glue first and then put down that nice tacky base. I also love doing it this way because then the brush itself is a little bit tacky and it helps to pick up, which with some of these formulas is nice because some of the textures in this palette are a little bit more on the chunky, flaky side. Not all of them, but some of them. And so having a sticky brush I find very helpful for that, or again, using your finger. All right, so narrow bellied is what we're going to go in with first, which is this gorgeous, gorgeous green right here. So pretty. And then we're just gonna use that to kind of cover over some of this outer and inner part of the lid. And that is gorgeous. I know I've said that like 60,000 times already, but this palette is seriously a showstopper. I have no other words. I'm actually glad that when I was filming the look yesterday, that I was just doing it for Instagram where none of my audio was gonna be used, because there was a lot of swearing because I was just so incredibly happy with everything. All right, now going into false eye, we're going to add that just in the center. And we're gonna do that there. This is why I said, you know, this is not an ensemble palette. These are divas. They like to hang out by themselves because as lovely as false eye is, it gets a little bit lost because of how beautiful narrow bellied is. And that's the thing with these diva shades, is that they have a hard time outshining one another. But look at that. Look at that. Oof. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add some mascara, and then we'll come back and take a look at the final look. To finish this look off, I added some of the L'Oreal Telescopic Lift, as well as a little bit of Kaleidos Limelight and Sea Sparkle to the lower lash line. And I did end up going in with just a little bit of false eye in the inner corner and underneath the brow bone, just to kind of tie the look together. It doesn't need it, but I like to have a bit of a shiny inner corner. Now that we've seen this palette in action, let's kind of break it down and let me give you some of my thoughts on it. Now, this is not a comprehensive review. This is only my second time using it. However, I have used Adept shadows in the past, and I'm kind of drawing from that experience as well. I'll be honest, the Plain Jane palette is still one of my very favorites. It adds just the perfect amount of zhuzh to any look, and I feel like this palette is going to live in that same realm. So this palette is, though, by no means perfect. So let's talk a little bit about what this costs. This palette is $140. That is a lot of money. Now, when I purchased it, I did have a 20% off code, but it's still a very expensive palette. This palette is retailed at a higher price point than my Natasha Denona palette, than my Pat McGrath Mothership palette. This is an investment piece. And so for that reason, I am going to be quite critical of it. The issue that I have with this palette is there is more redundancy than I would like to see personally in a palette at all, but certainly at $140, I feel like there are quite a few of these shades that could be interchanged for one another and you wouldn't see much of a difference. So along the top row here, many of these purples look very, very similar when swatched out. These two shadows right here down on the bottom, Paradoxal and Cindo, they're almost identical. When I did the swatches, I had a hard time telling which was which. And the same is true of some of the shadows at the top. A whole row of purpley leaning iridescent multichromes is, in my opinion, too much. If you're gonna be charging $140 for a palette, I want to see basically no crossover. Now, is that something that is going to bother me in the long run? No, I'm gonna use this palette. I'm gonna love this palette and I'm going to definitely get my full money's worth. I'm just giving my opinion so that when others are thinking about whether or not they want to make this investment, they can go into it with a lot of what I feel like are fact. And for me, the colors that are so similar to one another, I feel like is a missed opportunity at this price point. Now, with that being said, these are stunning. These, as I said, these are show-stopping diva shades. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I have no regrets about my purchase whatsoever. I am a makeup enthusiast, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but they apply and work very, very easily. This is, in my opinion, a very user-friendly palette, and I cannot stop looking at myself, which sounds crazy, but I think that the looks that I've created, now 3 of them, have just been spectacular. And I'm so excited to see what other people do with this palette to give me some additional inspiration with it. Because as I said, with these being very diva-like shades, I can't talk anymore. I don't see a lot of ways of using a lot of shadows in one look. It really seems like a one and done sort of dip into this palette. But I'm not mad about that at all either. So let me know, what are your thoughts? Is this a palette that has been on your radar? Have you picked it up? Are you planning on picking it up? As I said, this does release on the 25th of May. It is a vegan, cruelty-free brand. So that is something that I know is important to a lot of people. And it is really exciting to see shades of this caliber that are able to say that as well. This is an indie makeup brand out of Colorado, so shopping small is something that I personally absolutely love, and the quality is just top notch. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, which one do you like best? It's going to be very distracting going through the rest of my day like this, but I am very happy about it. If you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you'll consider doing so. And if you have enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.